Little Bighorn. The Battle of Little Bighorn in 1875 was a complete massacre of the 7th U.S. Cavalry. Spirits and ghosts of both Indians and soldiers have been seen and heard by the living, both on the outside areas and in the various building locations on the monument grounds. Outside the area, many people have heard frightened screams of men undergoing a grisly death while touring the battlefields. Some with psychic abilities have even witnessed some of the battle. Park Ranger Mardell Plainfeather is a Crow Indian who had a sweat lodge located next to the Bighorn River. After an elder had used it, she went into the lodge to pour water over the hot stones. After she came outside, she looked up and saw 60 or 70 yards up, on the bluff ahead of her, 2 warriors on horseback looking down at her. They had feathers and shields as well. One got off his horse to get a better look at her. The moon and stars were bright, so she knew that what she saw was clearly true, and she quickly left. On the Last Stand Hill and near the battlefield cemetery, many visitors have been overcome by a sense of deep sorrow and loss. People have also seen the apparition of 2nd Lieutenant Benjamin Hogston, reliving his terrifying, horrible death at Reno's Crossing. One of the most haunted places on the battleground site is the 1894 stone house built for the cemetery caretaker in the center of the battlefield, where Custer and his men lost to the Indians. The job of the cemetery caretaker was first thought to be the ghost herder by local Indians, who kept the ghosts from going beyond the monument fence. In recent years, the stone house has been turned into 2 apartments, one upstairs and one downstairs. Ranger Jacobson and his wife moved into the bottom apartment after being warned by the local people. They experienced doorknobs twisting, opening doors, and no one living being there. Unexplained footsteps heard overhead on the 2nd floor apartment when no one was living there. However, the most strange incident happened when his wife took a frozen chicken out of the freezer. They suddenly heard a high-pitched whine which pierced the entire apartment. When she put the chicken down, the whining stopped. When she picked it up, it would start again. The wife promptly threw the chicken away, and the whining stopped once again. Jackson wonders if the ghosts were being protective and may have prevented his family from eating a bad chicken. Sacrifice Cliff. The area is part of the Bureau of Land Management's Four Dances Natural Area, a 765-acre parcel of underdeveloped grassland, rocky outcrops, and riparian habitat the agency acquired in 1999 as underdeveloped recreational area. The rocky cliffs plunge 200 to 500 feet to the river, while the plateau offers views of the entire valley. According to legend, the story relates to the probable smallpox epidemic occurring maybe as late as the 1850s. The story also involved the sandstone cliffs that were behind Metra Park at the east end of Billings and on the north side of the river. 2 young Indian men who had been out scouting for a long time returned to their village, located on the back area of Metra Park, where the creek used to flow at the base of the cliff. Upon their return, the men found their village disseminated by smallpox. One scout learned that his wife or significant other had died. Family members had died as well. The 2 men were so distraught that they climbed on the white horse and committed suicide by riding the horse over the cliff. The Ghost Jogger. Rumor has it that if you drive down Airport Road at night, you'll see a spectral runner or a ghost jogger. Some say it's the spirit of a man who was hit by a truck while on a run. Others just chalk it up to steam rising off of the pavement. Here's an account of someone who had a run-in with the spirit. I looked out the front windshield. The headlights illuminated the road up about 20 feet ahead of us. There was a flash of movement on our left, and our friend Steve shrieked. "Calm down, it's just a deer," Gary laughed as we drove past it. He screamed again. I was about to make fun of him a little bit more until I looked ahead and saw a distinct human shape running, just outside the range of the headlights. "I knew it was real," my friend Kevin whispered, his face whiter than any ghost I've ever heard of. "What do we do?" Gary asked. He slowed down the car just enough so that we were barely rolling along behind the runner. I tried to get a good look at this jogger because I was still fairly convinced that he was just a regular person who had strange running habits. The jogger was wearing dark sweats and had his hood up. He was slowly but steadily moving along the shoulder of the road. "I'm going to talk to it," I said, making up my mind. "That's a terrible idea," both my friends said at the same time. My friend's advice didn't mean much to me, so I rolled down the window and called out to the jogger, "Hey!" The jogger slowly turned his head and looked at us. That image I saw next would be scarred into my brain for the rest of my life. I was expecting a face, but instead I stared straight into a skull that was gleaming a blinding white in the headlight, with dark, empty eye sockets for eyes and cracks running down its left side. We were all too horrified to even make a sound. Gary slammed on the brakes and I rolled up my window as fast as I could. When I looked back up, the ghost jogger had completely vanished. There was nowhere for it to have hidden. It was just gone. The Moss Mansion. The Moss Mansion was inhabited solely by Mr. and Mrs. Moss, their 6 children, and 3 servants from the time of construction until 1984, at which time a community effort was organized to save the building. The house was built for a cost of $105,000, compared to a national average of $5,000 at the time of its construction. The Moss Mansion was the Moss family home for its entire time as a private residence, and was dearly loved and protected. As one would expect, several members of the Moss family died within this mansion. The youngest of the Moss children, little Virginia, died in the 3rd month after her 6th birthday on April 2nd, in 1908. Preston B. Moss died of a heart attack on February 1st, 1947, and his wife, Martha Moss, followed him just 4 years later, dying of a cerebral hemorrhage on November 6th, 1951. Finally, Melville Moss died at the mansion on November 2nd, 1984. A female voice is heard singing up in the billiards room and has been caught on EVP on multiple occasions. It could be residual or perhaps a response to music investigators play. A cool wind has been reported by staff and others that goes up and around a living person's body. No logical explanation has been found to explain this. Shadows have also been seen by staff and others in various rooms in the mansion, especially in the billiards room and the lobby foyer area. The entity of Preston Moss has been seen walking down the central staircase many times. He perhaps likes to stay in the master bedroom, at night at least. And since the Moss Mansion is open to the public for tours, you may be able to catch a glimpse of him. The Flathead Lake Monster. The Flathead Lake Monster is a creature who has yet to be proven into actual existence and is reported to be living somewhere deep within the Flathead Lake in Montana. Many claim that the monster most resembles the Loch Ness Monster, and some even say that it may be the same type of creature. The earliest sighting reported was all the way back in 1889 by a skipper James C. Kerr, who managed a U.S. Grant, a steamboat that shuttled around Lake Flathead. What looked like a log at first soon appeared to resemble a whale-like creature the closer they came to it. After a passenger fired a few rounds, the creature disappeared. The monster didn't die, but the story began the ongoing legend that became the talk of the region, even a century later. I swore I saw a monstrous shadow shape peek its head out from the ripples of the water, only to dive deeper into the lake. The current from the movements was enough to violently rock my small boat, said a Richard Seaman from Big Fort, Montana. The legend of the Flathead Lake Monster is one that has been passed down for many generations through the area. Every single one of my family members have claimed to seen it at one point or another in their lives, said another local, Chrissy Gelman. Destination America's TV show even aired an entire segment about the Flathead Lake Monster in an episode of Monsters and Mysteries in America. People still to this day swear that they have seen the lake monster. I hope you ghouls enjoy these 5 Montana urban legends. I'm sorry they're so short. There actually wasn't a lot, and I had to do some digging to find stories on like the ghost jogger and stuff. So I don't know if I just really suck at research or if there really isn't like that much in Montana. So if you live in Montana, let me know below if I missed anything, because I feel like there's more and I feel like I just suck as a researcher. But yeah, that's all. Question of the day. I don't really have one. Sorry. But as always, ghouls, the last video will be on the top left, the next video will be on the bottom left. All of my social media is on the screen as well as on the description below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.